Welcome to Jazz on My Mind, Coast to Coast. Coming to you live from the World Cafe in Wilmington, Delaware. My name is Jazz Jordan of the G2 Band, and I present to you your host for the evening, Mr. Richard Blackwell.
All right. Thank you, Jazz. And thank you, G2. Welcome to Jazz on My Mind, Coast to Coast. I'm your host, Richard Blackwell. Every Monday at 8 o'clock, we bring you jazz events from Los Angeles to New York, along with performances and jazz chats with the legends, current and upcoming jazz stars. And we're so happy that everybody's with us for our 4th season and our 3rd episode. And with me tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a very special show, because tonight we're going to celebrate the release of a hot new CD, and it's entitled The Colored Waiting Room. And with me tonight is the producer, arranger, Mr. Everything, my main man, Guthrie, Dr. Guy Ramsey. Welcome to Jazz on My Mind, brother. Good to see you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
You know, I'm excited about having you on the show tonight, Dr. Guy, because you and I have been friends for a while. I love your music. What you're doing is very, very, very instrumental to the music world. And in particular, your new CD, the hot new release of The Colored Waiting Room. Let's talk about that, because tonight, not only are we going to talk about it, but we're going to show a video which features behind the scenes work of The Colored Waiting Room. And we've got a couple of performances tonight featuring Millie Gonzalez. She's going to sing a couple of songs. And we're also going to chat with J. Anthony Thompson, the co-producer. So how does all this feel, man? You're celebrating your new CD tonight.
This is great. I'm trying to get up for it. Yeah, this is great. I really thank you for inviting me on and help me celebrate this this great event. Appreciate it. This is, we're both from Chicago, so
That's right. We got it, because we got a couple, our backgrounds, me in radio, you doing the music, we both from Chicago, we both were in L.A.,
both play baseball.
We both play baseball.
Right.
and we got another gentleman who's coming on tonight, Mr. Delbert Boyer from the group Anaya.
Right,
He's going to come on. He's spent some time in Los Angeles. So our paths have crossed, but indirectly and not directly until we get to Wilmington.
Well, we thank you here in Wilmington, Delaware, for bringing all of the energy and celebrating the jazz music. We really appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. And, Jazz on My Mind, we just report jazz. We wouldn't have anything to report if it wasn't for people like yourself, like Delbert, because with you gentlemen give us content for what we do. So we appreciate you as well.
Quite welcome.
Now, tonight, we're going to celebrate the release of your new CD, The Colored Waiting Room. Let's start off by you explaining to the audience, what was your inspiration for such a magnificent piece of work?
Well, I started out with the CD like I always do, trying to, write some music. You try to express the tunes that you hear running through your head. But I had an experience at a bookstore where a young man approached me, and he asked me if I knew the writer Webb Du Bois. And of course I knew he meant W.E.B. Du Bois. Right. He wanted to know if I could direct him to a book that was like The Souls of Black Folk, which was written in 1903. Okay. And he wanted an update of that to help him out. And I said, well, okay, let me think about that. What could help this young brother out? And then he kept talking to me. He said he read The Souls of Black Folk when he was in prison. Mm-hmm. And he believed that if he kept reading positive books, that he would not wind up in prison again. And of all the people in that bookstore, he happened to ask a music historian.
Such as yourself.
Right. A question that I would ponder and try to answer for him. And so it just made me feel that the music I'm making and the things I do are not just to entertain, but it's to teach people. So that's when I started really exploring the historical element of the CD.
Well, when you said the word teach, you are a professor. You are a professor of music. Why don't you give the audience an idea of your credentials? Where did you study? Where did you get your formal training?
Well, it all started, of course, in Chicago with the, just playing in bands and all of that. But eventually, I, got a degree in music education, and then I started doing some research and wound up at the University of Michigan, where I got a PhD in music history, musicology. And I've taught at Tufts University, Princeton, Harvard, and now I'm at the University of Pennsylvania. I've been here since 1998.
Where did the nickname Dr. Guy come from?
The first person to call me Dr. Guy was Denise King.
Wow.
When I first moved to Philly. A Guy is a nickname, and so she just started calling me Dr. Guy, and it just caught on.
Now, you're talking about Denise King, the vocalist.
The vocalist,
I
right.
was with her yesterday at a jazz brunch here in Wilmington, Delaware, and she did perform. What a marvelous talent she is.
She's amazing. She just got back from a tour of Europe, and because she's pushing her CD, which came out late last year.
And in fact, I spoke with her last night about coming on Jazz on My Mind as well.
Oh, she'd be awesome.
She wants to do that.
Yeah, she opens our CD with a rendition that I arranged for her of "Stolen Moments," Oliver Nelson's classic.
That's a nice song. I like that.
Yeah. It came out in 1959, but I kind of updated it with a kind of neo-soul funk vibe, and she does a great job with it.
Well, you're doing some magnificent things. You're working with some outstanding people, with Millie Gonzalez and Denise King and so many others, Anthony J. Thompson. It has to be a wonderful thing because I want to know the inspiration and the title for the Colored Waiting Room. Where did that come from? How did you come up with that?
Well, as I say, we were thinking about the historical ramifications of what we do, and of course the Colored Waiting Room refers to these historic spaces where black passengers had to reside. Well, before we traveled, we had to wait in a colored waiting room, cordoned off. And although these spaces were meant to contain us, actually what went on inside of these spaces was a lot of love, a lot of creativity, a lot of the the lifeblood of our culture, and I wanted to honor that in a way. But I didn't create a colored waiting room per se. The Colored Waiting Room is a nightclub on the CD, and so the whole thing takes place in a nightclub called the Colored Waiting Room. And one thing about the Colored Waiting Room, those first Colored Waiting Rooms were segregated. In this Colored Waiting Room, we like everybody in there. So I have, black performers, white performers, Puerto Rican performers, just everybody. Everybody is invited in this Colored Waiting Room.
I think that is such an outstanding situation, and I'm once again very excited about having you on Jazz on My Mind. And I think it's only apropos that you are releasing that CD here in Wilmington, which I call the jazz capital of the world.
So much is going on here.
It's amazing. When we came here 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, had no idea about the rich jazz history. You hear about Clifford Brown, of course, but it goes a lot deeper here than Clifford Brown. You have a lot of men or a lot of musicians because Clifford Brown studied under the tutelage of Boysie Lowery.
Right,
and Boysie instructed many of these musicians that are performing in Delaware, Wilmington today.
But there's so much history here in Wilmington. I bought a place here in 2005, I think, and there's just so much here. This was a stop on the Underground Railroad.
Exactly.
This was one of the places where Brown versus Board of Education was. This is one of the school systems that played a part in, and of course all of the great hard bop that came out of Wilmington. This is sort of people, give a lot of credit to Philadelphia with Lee Morgan and John Coltrane. Right. But Clifford Brown and all of his cohort were here too. So there's
Ernie Watts and so many others.
Oh, so much went on
Papa
here.
D. Allen from War, he started here. He lived here for many, many years. But we're going to talk more about the Colored Waiting Room. We're going to see a video, a behind-the-scene video, which you comprise, and it will give the people, our audience, an idea of what it's all about. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to bring out our first guest for tonight, somebody that we also both know, a young man who is doing a lot in jazz here in Wilmington, Delaware. In fact, his group just recently released their CD last year. And
there's something going on here.
There's something going on, I'm telling you. And we're trying to let everyone know around the world that what's going on. So on that note, Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the band leader, another excellent composer and arranger. Young man who's doing a lot of things with jazz here in Wilmington, Delaware, and the tri-state area. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome from the group Anaya, Mr. Delbert Boyer, to Jazz
Thank you.
on My Mind. You know, Delbert, it means a lot to me, you two gentlemen being on the show tonight, because musically, you two are doing it. You guys are moving your music straight ahead. You're doing some great things here in the city and around the world with your music. Delbert, Anaya, that's your group. You're doing some terrific things. In fact, we broadcast our show from the World Cafe Live in Wilmington, Delaware, and you've got a big show coming up this Saturday, April 28th here. Talk about that show and what's going to be happening this coming Saturday.
This Saturday we'll have Anaya. We're going to be featuring our new CD, Full Circle, and we also are going to have Venetia. She sings with To The Max. Yeah.
Excellent vocalist here.
Excellent. And we're going to kick it out. We're going to really have a good time. This is our first time performing here, so we're really excited about it.
And we're excited about it as well, Delbert, because you have done things. You and your group, Anaya, have performed all in the tri-state area. This Full Circle, I do believe, was your 4th CD.
Yes, it is.
And how does it feel, man, to be able to put some great music out there in number 4? It's got to warm your heart.
It feels great. It feels really good. And it's that's just the 4th, so I plan on keep on doing it until I die, I guess. You know, I'm just going to keep writing and keep putting out good music and try to put stuff out that people can really relate to.
You know, the amazing thing is because I think you and Dr. Guy were on the show previously last season.
That's right.
You two were on Jazz on My Mind with me. And, you know, have you gentlemen decided to hook up and try to collaborate on something together?
We're still talking.
You're still talking?
Yeah, we will. We will after tonight.
Of course. Right.
I think that's excellent. Now, see, your CD, Full Circle, Delbert, it's got some dynamite songs on it. You do the rendition of Amazing Grace. You got the title track, Full Circle. You also, there's another song, PSA, Keep It Moving, all of those great hits. And you even have one song called Count Your Blessings, which is done with vocals by Philip Joseph. That's more of a spiritual song for you as well, including Amazing Grace. To be able to play both sides like that, to do a little jazz gospel combined, that's got to be something that's pretty cool for you.
Yeah, that's very special to me because my mother is a gospel pianist. And I was raised in the church, and I don't really hang out in church that much anymore, and I hang out, but I don't attend it on a regular, but music in the church has always been something very important to me and my family and stuff. So my grandmother and my mom, they influenced me with the gospel, so I wanted to intertwine the jazz and the gospel together, just to, you know, so people can see that, you know, the music is relative. It's really basically the same because it comes from the heart.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, the show coming up this Saturday, April 28th, once again, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be here at the World Cafe Live. The address is 500 North Market Street in downtown Wilmington, Delaware. It's going to be a big show because you also, as your special guest, you're going to feature the queen of spoken word, which is Sweet Franchon. Now, Sweet Franchon is a big name here in this area.
Oh, definitely.
With her
definitely.
poetry. That's going to be an out-of-sight show.
Oh, yeah. Definitely make sure you get your tickets.
Yeah,
and
you
come
can
out.
get your tickets by calling the World Cafe Live box office, or either go on to their website, which is worldcafelive.com. And of course, you can call the Blackwell Solution, because we're producing this show, and I'm very privileged to be the master of ceremonies this coming Saturday. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, to get those tickets, you can call the Blackwell Solution, and that phone number is area code 302, and the number is 4648. 428-1964. The number again is area code 302-428-1964. Now, Delbert, is there anything that you want to talk to Guthrie about? Because both of you two are composers, arrangers. You guys are doing your own music. Any questions from composer to composer?
Okay, I got a question. Where do you get your inspiration to write?
And you can use your microphone.
You know, it's interesting how you talked about your background. I think that when you begin music as early as we did and become aware of it, you're really not quite sure where you are getting that inspiration, but it always stays with you. So I think that when I sit down to the piano to write, you know, I'm not quite sure where I'm translating from, but I'm translating some kind of energy, you know, and trying to give it some kind of sonic form. So that's what about you? I want to know about you.
I get my inspiration from, I play my guitar every day, so melodies usually just pop up in my head, and I've been just working out different things. And with the gospel stuff, I really wanted to start interjecting like Amazing Grace and things like that. And so that kind of stuff just started going through my head, and I wanted to put some jazz chords to it, you know, to rearrange it. I'm going to give you the CD today so you can check it out. But yeah, that was my main thing. It was just, I just hear it so much, and I listen to so many different people, you know, and I get inspiration from them also. So all kinds of music.
And when you think about your inspirations, Delbert, you said you get inspiration from many people. When you first began playing the guitar and got interested in playing, who was someone who inspired you? And Guthrie, I'm going to ask you that same question.
Guitars?
Guitars, musically, yeah, well, let's say specifically guitars. Who was someone who influenced you?
I'm going to pull somebody out the hat that nobody thinks that I listen to, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, well, that's a good name to pull out the hat.
I mean, when I started playing, I started listening to Hendrix. And then I listened to Carlos Santana. And then I went to George Benson. And after Benson, I started listening to Wes. So
Wes
it was kind of,
Montgomery,
Wes Montgomery. So it was kind of backwards because Wes was first. But my parents used to play Wes at the house, and it was more of the symphonic West and the commercialized West. It wasn't the straight ahead jazz West. So I really wasn't into it that much. And after a while, then after I started listening to Benson, I said, well, how did Benson start getting all this music? And he started recommending that you listen to West. So then I went back and started listening to the traditional jazz Wes Montgomery. Right. And that's all you need to listen to.
That's it, basically. What about you, Dr. Guy? When you started doing your thing, who were some of the musicians that influenced you?
Well, first and foremost were the musicians who were around me. You know, there were musicians in the church playing, and I remember there was a young lady who played. She was my exact age, and she was playing for the church when I was in 7th and 8th grade, and you know, and okay, there was a little love thing going on with me, you know, at that time. I was like, wow, she can really play the piano, you know. That's the year I started ironing my shirts, you know.
I understand how that goes.
Exactly, you know.
Making
so that
sure
was,
you're looking
it's
good.
all intertwined for me, you know. That it's living and life and music is all entwined. But I would have to say my favorite pianist on the planet right now is Herbie Hancock, because he's you know, he's
That's
just
a good one as well.
all over the place, and he doesn't respect boundaries, and I really
he
really
creates his
love
own boundaries.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know, this is really astounding because I'm sitting here, ladies and gentlemen, with two outstanding composers, arrangers, and group leaders, and about February, I launched my 24-hour music station, WJOMM.
Hear, hear.
And I'm very proud to say that I'm playing Anaya and Dr. Guy's music on my music station. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, I will endorse their music to the end. These are two outstanding musicians, two very conscious composers, because in this world of music, you got to be conscious about what you're doing. Do you gentlemen agree?
Oh, definitely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. So once again, thank you, Delbert, for coming on. We want to remind the folks, Delbert will be with his group Anaya here at the World Cafe Live. That's happening this Saturday, April 28th, along with special guest Sweet Franchon, the first lady of spoken word, and it's going to be happening. Get your tickets now. Log on to the World Cafe Live website, or you can call the Blackwell Solution at 302-428-1964 to get your tickets. Delbert, I'm looking forward to seeing you and hearing the group on Saturday, all right? All right, sir, good luck. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Delbert Boyer on Jazz on My Mind. I think that's beautiful. You know, there's so much going on, and that I get a chance to present you gentlemen here on Jazz on My Mind so that we can talk about your music, talk about what you're doing. You and Delbert are doing similar things. You guys are putting out some great work, and my hat goes out to both of you.
And original work, too. That's very, very important,
And I'm glad you said that, because the originality of your music is the most important thing.
Right. This is, you know, one thing I love about Wilmington. There's a lot of bands down here, and I hear a lot of music, and a lot of it is cover bands, and that's a beautiful thing because it gets everybody up. But I also like to hear what's new as well. You know, I love the 70s, I love the 80s and the 90s, but I want to know what happened yesterday too. You know.
Well, you know, that's why my hat goes off to you, because coming up with a creation like the Colored Waiting Room, and Delbert coming up with this group Anaya Full Circle CD, that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of creativity.
Right. It took me about 2.5 years, all said and done, to get the entire CD all together. So, you know, there's a little matter of the day job too. You know,
Well, you know, speaking of the CD, the Colored Waiting Room, we've got two wonderful people who helped you put that together. One of them is vocalist Millie Gonzalez.
Right.
She's going to be coming up just a little bit later in the show. And also J. Anthony Thompson, who co-produced the CD.
Co-produced and wrote one of the songs, and was just a general, you know, backbone and support of the whole project from start to finish.
Well, what we're going to do in just a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, stay by your computer. Don't go anywhere, because coming up in just a couple of minutes, we're going to show a video which takes you behind the scenes. It takes you deep into the Colored Waiting Room. We're going to let the audience see your video of that in just a couple of minutes.
Great.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's coming up in just a few minutes. But right now, what I would like for you to do is to get your pen and paper ready, because you know it happens every week at this time. It's time now for us to give you this week's jazz events for the West Coast. And here's what's happening this week in jazz. We're going to begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the city we both spend a lot of time in, Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles has an excellent spot for jazz, and it's called the World Stage. That's the place that Billy Higgins, the late great drummer Billy Higgins, built. And there's always some great jazz going on at the World Stage. They're located at 4344 South Degnan Boulevard in Los Angeles. Now on Thursdays, they got something great going on, and it's their youth jazz club, and it's something that all youngsters should get involved with, because we need somebody to keep this music going. So check out the World Stage if you're in Los Angeles. Once again, the address is 4344 Degnan in LA, and you can find out more by calling them at area code 323, and the number is 293-2451. That number again, 323-293-2451. And when you go by the World Stage, be sure to tell our good friend Matt Gibson we said hello. Now, you've got something that's coming up at the Catalina Bar and Grill. What's happening at the Catalina?
Well, there's always great jazz going on at the Catalina Bar and Grill on Wednesday, April 25th. It will be a salute to Billie Holiday's birthday.
Yeah.
The great Billie Holiday.
That's right.
The one and only. Featuring Corky Hale and Freda Payne.
Wow. When the last time we heard anything from Freda Payne?
What was the name of that song?
We'll talk about
that. They are located at 6725 Sunset. For more information, log on to Catalina Jazz Club, that's oneword.com.
All right, and for all of our great viewers in the Midwest, in Detroit, there's a hot jazz spot, and it's called Bert's Jazz Marketplace, and they're located at 2731 Russell Avenue in Detroit. You can check them out by calling area code 313, and the number is 567-2030. And in our hometown, Chicago, there's Andy's Jazz Club and Restaurant. They're located at 1100 East Hubbard Street in Chicago. You can find out more by logging on to andysjazzclub.com. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, for all jazz events from Los Angeles to New York, check out our website, which is jazzonmymind.com. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a look and we're going to go deep into the colored waiting room. Before we show the video, Dr. Guy, why don't you set it up and let the audience know what they're about to view?
Well, this is a film that I made about the colored waiting room. You know, one of the things that I learned in today's music market is that you have to be innovative in how you promote things. And I've become very active in social media,
okay.
You know, in tweeting and Facebook, and I have a Tumblr page, and I try to put up, you know, visual aspects of the music business. Mm-hmm. And so this is a film that I produced and wrote in order to let people know about the Colored Waiting Room Project, who was on it, and what was the concept behind it.
And we're about to see it, but before we do, that song by Frida Payne was Band of Gold.
That's right.
1969.
Pull it down, pull it down.
I had to think about it for a second. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go deep into the colored waiting room with my man, Dr. Guy Guthrie Ramsey, and let's take a peek at what's going on and what it took to put this project together. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the colored waiting room on Jazz on My Mind.
Part 5, I think, narrative. Dr. Ramsey, Part 5, I think. 98. Hello, my name is Guthrie Ramsey, and I'm a pianist, music historian, and professor of music at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm here to introduce my new CD project, The Colored Waiting Room, to my audience. The CD, The Colored Waiting Room, is by my band, Dr. Guy's Musicology, which has artists from all over, New York, Memphis, Atlanta, and of course Philadelphia. And let's not forget Chicago, land of the blues and the city where I cut my teeth musically. It features my own compositions and arrangements, as well as collaborations with poet Elizabeth Alexander, singer June Towns, and pianist Greg Payne, producer-songwriter Jerry Thompson, as well as my daughter and son, who also helped out with some co-writing on the project. I'm excited that on this project, unlike the first CD I put out, I used several studios and producers, including the legendary Bobby Eli from Studio E, Jerry Thompson from Jack World, Dave Schoenauer from Morningstar, and Mylon Jones from The Music Store. I titled the project The Colored Waiting Room as both a remembrance and a recovery. I wanted to recall a time when black passengers were confined to segregated waiting rooms before they traveled by bus or rail. It represented for them a space of containment. On the flip side, it was also a place where one was free to be oneself, where they could express things beyond the scrutiny of a broader, suspicious public. On this recording, The Colored Waiting Room is actually a nightclub that tries to recover musically some of those positive social energies that circulated throughout those cultural spaces. This recording expresses the eclectic vibe that was the spirit of the Colored Waiting Room. The music and stories here refuse to pin themselves down to a specific genre. The song's messages of life, love, desire, and joy are the result of providing talented individuals from different backgrounds and musical dispositions material through which they could dream, interpret, and execute. The songs are written in lots of different styles. They're a mix of jazz, R&B, neo-soul, classical, hip-hop, Latin, and gospel, all juxtaposed on the same project. We even have some poetry on the CD. I guess you could say that there's a non-discrimination clause in this Colored Waiting Room. Many students and former students have worked with me in various capacities on the Colored Waiting Room project, as interns, as performers, in social media, and on the film. It's been great to mix them up with the seasoned pros in the music community, putting them all together in the Colored Waiting Room, so to speak. I've even trained my own children in music, and they do everything from hip-hop beats to classical. 2 of them have joined me on this project, and I couldn't be prouder to pass this music thing down the line. So step into the Colored Waiting Room with us. We hope you enjoy yourself.
That's it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give that piece of work a big round of applause, a deserving round of applause. Going into the Colored Waiting Room right now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome another performer from off of the CD, the Colored Waiting Room, vocalist Millie Gonzalez. Millie, welcome to Jazz on My Mind. You know, watching the video, I'm telling you, the concept, putting it together, that was a labor of love. It had to be. And I understand you played a very big part. How does that feel to work on such a wonderful project with Dr. Guy?
I count it an honor and a privilege just to be around such excellence, a spirit of excellence. Yeah. You know, it was, and just being so different and coming together. I am that Rican he spoke about. I told God that I would mention that because such a variety, you know, and I am that Spanish person that he was speaking about.
Now, I know that you sing on a song that I first started playing on WJOMM, which was Break Bread.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, what was that like singing such a spiritual, spirit-moving song? What was that like for you?
The ironic part was that when he reached out to me on the telephone, via telephone, he didn't even say hello. He said, Millie, I need you to record. He had no idea that I was in ministry. And when he presented the track to me, it was amazing. It was like divine.
See how the Lord works.
Yes,
he
does. He is good, and yes, he does.
We had worked together about a decade ago.
Okay, I was going to ask you, how did this happen?
And,
how did you guys meet? Tell us how the meeting.
Well, I played it. She's from Atlantic City, and there was a problem with a show she was on. There was a huge show going on, and I guess the music director, the pianist, could not could not cut the music and all that. So they called me in at the last minute, and I had to amass a whole show basically. It was Dionne Warwick was on that show or something. It was a big thing, and so we worked together and for a while. And then we lost touch for about a decade, and for some reason, she looked me up on the internet and she kind of located me.
Wow.
And went on a hunting expedition and found me, and she called. She said, "Hey, well." She said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Hey, Millie." And then I knew I had written this arrangement, and I was still looking for a singer for it. And then I said, "Wait a minute. Sing something for me first." And so she tweeted a little bit on the phone. I'm like, "Okay, now hey, I got a song for you." Because a decade,
a little time, things could have happened.
You're right.
But she still had it.
She still had it, right.
That was the truth. He wanted me to sing before he made his decision to invite me.
Yeah. Now, working with Dr. Guy and the host of the other wonderful musicians, spiritually, how did that move you? How did that get to you? You're in the ministry, you're doing ministry as well. This had to take you to another level.
It really did. Just having the opportunity to mesh the worlds of jazz and gospel was truly an experience. Walking into the recording studio, it just flowed. You knew it was divine. You know when God orders things and orchestrates, he makes it all good, and he makes it, and it flows. Right. There was no opposition, nothing. Right. He presented the arrangement, and he said, "Add your flow, and to God be the glory," because it was spirit-led all the way. Yes.
Now, your formal training, other than singing with Dr. Guy, who else have you performed with in your career?
At one time, I was a background vocalist for Billy Paul.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, and a lot of Latin orchestras in New York, salsa, merengue. Being bilingual, I've had the opportunity to do a little jazz, a little salsa, a little merengue, and now gospel.
So other than working with Dr. Guy, you're doing your own thing, you're doing the ministry and so forth like that. Are you working on any projects on your own?
Yes, ironically
let's talk about that.
Coincidentally enough, I am in the midst of releasing my own CD. It is a fusion sound that has a gospel, R&B, funk, and Latin accents.
Wow.
I have to tell you, we sat in the car after a performance the other night, and I heard every track. And when you hear this CD, you're going to be so blown away.
I hope that you grace me with a copy.
It is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. To God be all the glory.
She
it
wrote
is
all
awesome.
the music. Yeah.
Yes. And
that's astounding. So are you appearing anywhere? Are you doing anything? Is there any way, because you're going to perform in just a couple of minutes, and I'm sure you're going to blow the audience away. How can someone follow you? You have a website or any information that we can follow you?
Right now, I'm on Facebook, Millie Gonzalez. I'm in the process of preparing all those things, setting them in place. And the CD should be coming out, being released maybe around June, July the latest. So we're really excited about that. And I believe this is just like the foreshadow and how God divinely has set this up.
Yeah, and it's all through him. Now, we've got another individual from the Colored Waiting Room, the co-producer, J. Anthony Thompson, is going to be coming up. How was that working with him as well?
Very relaxed, very smooth. Again, they just allowed the atmosphere to be just so comfortable for me to come in to be creative, and that's really a blessing. When you can walk into a place, Jerry has a lot to do with that, as does Guy. It was a blessing.
I think all of you musicians on the who participated in the Colored Waiting Room definitely deserve a big round of applause, because you guys have done, that is such a phenomenal, don't your audience agree as well, that what they've done was outstanding? And you know, you've got Jazz on My Mind's support. You know that. This is my brother right here. He supports everything that the Blackwell Solution does, and we're very honored and privileged to support him with this particular CD, The Colored Waiting Room. And this is not your first CD. Dr. Guy's Musicology is another one of my favorites, because on my music station, I'm playing Lincoln Drive, just Shoeless Groove, just to name a few. So you are an accomplished
That
person.
CD is called Why the Q.
Right, exactly. Dr. Guy Musicology. I like that. Why the Q? Well, Millie, we're going to look forward to your performance. Anything else you want to say? Go ahead. Anything?
Well, it was just great to be able to work with Millie again because we made a connection there, and then to be able to come back and to work again on a very special project. It was really great. You know, when you put together a CD, you have to lean on people.
Yeah.
It's not you're not an island. You need others to come and bring it, and she really brought it. And people can hear it. Everybody loves that track on the CD.
Yeah, Break Bread Together.
It was the first track played on the radio, by the way. Yeah.
And when I heard the CD, it was one of the first ones that I gravitated to. It was the meaning of the song. It was the way that you sang the song. It really, that was my first one that I dug on there.
Yeah, we're going to do an unplugged version of that tonight. Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Millie, we want to thank you for being on. We're looking forward to listening to you sing in just a couple of minutes. And, of course, we wish you all the best, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, from the Colored Waiting Room, Millie Gonzalez. Now, Millie, I want you to stay there, and you as well, Dr. Guy, because in a couple of minutes, we're going to bring up the co-producer of the Colored Waiting Room, Mr. J. Anthony Thompson. We're going to be chatting with him. But first, ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know about something that we just spoke about that I want to openly invite everyone once again. This coming Saturday, April 28th, is going to be a big concert right here at the World Cafe Live. It's going to feature the contemporary jazz group Anaya. Now, Anaya released their 4th CD in November of last year, and the CD is called Full Circle, and it contains many, many marvelous great jazz cuts on it. And they're going to be performing those songs this Saturday night right here at the World Cafe Live, 500 North Market Street in downtown Wilmington, Delaware. We want everyone to come on out because this is our way of bringing the arts back to Wilmington, Delaware. On the show with Anaya would be spoken word artist Sweet Fran Sean, and she is definitely the queen of spoken word here in the tri-state area. So it's going to be a marvelous show. You can come on out, hear some poetry along with some jazz, and make a wonderful night of it. Once again, it happens this Saturday night, April 28th, right here at the beautiful World Cafe Live, where we broadcast our show each and every Monday night. Get your tickets now. Anaya, along with Sweet Fran Sean, in concert. Don't miss it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, right now, we want to welcome another distinguished person from the Colored Waiting Room CD. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the co-producer, J. Anthony Thompson. Mr. Thompson, welcome.
Thank you.
You know, we're sitting here with the other producer, Dr. Guy, and one of the vocalists and performers, Millie Gonzalez. This had to be a wonderful piece of work for you, Mr. Thompson. How was it? What was it like working with these individuals? And you can be honest.
Well, I was going to ask, how honest can I be?
No, you can be as honest, please.
I mean, it's a process, you know, and the first is, you know, working with Guy is the trust. You ask someone to, you know, produce your project. You have to trust them. And we actually met through golf, and then we found out we had a common interest in music, and then we actually found out we had common roots. I'm also a Midwest boy, just a little south of Chicago in Kankakee. So that's where I cut my teeth musically. And so the longer we kind of knew each other, the more we found out we had in common. And then actually he gave me a copy of Why the Q. And
what did you think of that piece of work, Why the Q?
We had lunch, and I brought a notebook with some of my thoughts about. It's because he was talking about doing his next project, so I was just giving some things to just think about. And that just went on. He may want to tell his own version of the story. But
well, before he does, what did you think of that work, Why the Q, with those wonderful songs? What did you think about that?
I loved it. But in terms of some things that I thought that he could do musically, so basically my role was to challenge him to approach the project a little bit differently than he did the first one.
And how did that work out for you?
Well, that's the one thing you always look for if you're really trying to excel, is that you want to place yourself around people who you believe are better than you. You don't want to be around people who you're bringing along. You want to be around people who are challenging you to be better. And this is what this guy does. He came in and he had a critique of the project and his own ideas about what would make the next project better in his mind. And then he laid some of his music on me, and I was like, wow, this guy is an engineer, a producer. He's a great keyboardist and a great drummer. So those are the people you want to be, the multifaceted people, and a businessman. So this is who you want to be around. So I took up the challenge. He's a challenging kind of person.
Now, Jay, growing up in Kankakee, not that far from Chicago, were you influenced by some of the musicians? Because Chicago had some hot musicians in the 60s and the 70s.
Milton Brunson, the Thompson Singers, all those. I spent a lot of time in Chicago because my uncle pastored a church on the west side. And I remember being yelled at by the choir director quite often because he felt I was dragging the songs on the drums, So, that's where I got my first taste of the Hammond organ, and then I spent a lot of time in Detroit. So a lot of that sound. But that's really, I came up, as a gospel musician. And I remember once being accused by my pastor's wife of playing progressive jazz in church. And I looked at it and said, I don't even know what that is. I just played what I thought y'all were playing. So it's funny. A lot of us have that, those common roots in music, and we've been able to take it into all these other genres, or really in some ways bring some of those genres back home where they came from. And so with this project, we did a lot of that. I mean, we covered so many bases, and again, a lot of trust. We had a lot of decisions to make about what's included, what's not included, what things get cut. So the versions that you all hear and love, we had to, But again, it's a lot of trust, and so we went from working in one studio and then working in my studio, and just so many different situations. I think there's over 15 musicians in total on the project, and then. I think I ended up mixing 11 of the 14 songs. And originally I wasn't going to mix any of them, because I felt I had been really inundated with the music and felt that someone else should do it, but it just turned out that way. And so, you kind of, that's how you got what you got,
Yeah, this is an interesting thing when you're working with people who are really listening to your music. Yeah. The producer, you really do have to, at one point, I had to say, okay, you're a co-producer. That means I have to listen to you. That means it's no longer my project when it comes to the decisions. I have to trust you to make the decisions. And then, when he was mixing, I was like, yeah, I want to get this out. He's like, no, I've been mixing all day. I'm going to give my ears a rest for about 3 days, and then I'll get back on the project, So, yeah, it's something when you want a quality project and you build a team. You have to trust that team.
You do, definitely. Yeah. And I can see that trust. I feel that trust, and also feel the love that you individuals have for each other, which is another important part of the equation.
Well, I felt my job really, and it started with the first recording session that I showed up to. None of the other musicians knew who I was or really why I was there. And but I felt that part of my job, and we had this conversation, was really to protect the integrity of the music, the way that he had written it and the way it needed to come out. And so then my job was to challenge, some of the direction that things were taken, perhaps some things the way that musicians approach the music, just to allow phrasings and other things to come together. So what you get when you listen to the project is you get something that you can continue to listen to it because there's so many layers. Sonically, we were able to introduce a lot of different textures, colors, rhythms, and feels. But it demands direction, to do that. So
how was it working for you, Jay? How was it working with Millie?
If I could say this, that was a spiritual session. She was actually in the studio at one point with Rick Tate, and
great saxophonist.
Oh, absolutely, and he was Rick playing sax in the Iwi, and it was
I can hear his Iwi. I said that's got to be Rick Tate.
It was really awesome. But again, we were fortunate to have a great foundation for the song was already laid down with the rhythm section. And then, again, all the embellishments that we were able to do. And then when Millie came in, it's funny because I asked her tonight, said, how did you feel when you first heard it? Because there are elements of the song that weren't there when she recorded it. Wow. Some of the solo pieces, the trumpet pieces were not there. But that was the fun that we had, was to continue to build it But the session was awesome. But we always had that, though.
And I can tell. When you play the CD, The Color Waiting Room, you can hear it. And you folks had some other astounding musicians on the CD that I know personally. One of them is Roy Richardson
Jr.
Excellent saxophonist, and we don't have time to name everyone, but you've had, and also another one, because when we mentioned Boise Lowry, the instructor for Clifford Brown, there's a gentleman on your CD who also studied under the tutelage of Boise, and that was the Big Cat. Tony Smith. And you know, and in the audience, as I look out, there's another great trumpeter who studied under Boise Lowry. The one and only Gerald Chavis is here tonight with us. We thank Gerald for stopping by. But you had a tremendous host of musicians. When you talk about Rick Tate, who was astounding, Rick Tate was one of the first musicians I met when I came here in 2009.
It was scary.
Yeah. Because the cat plays the iwi, and I've only heard several individuals play the iwi. One was Herbie Hancock.
Right.
Okay. The other one, Rick Tate. You know, so that says a lot. That says a lot about what he does.
But it put a lot of pressure on us, if I can add this, from a technical standpoint, because, again, I did a lot of mixing, but I also engineered a lot of those sessions when we recorded those guys. And I had to go to school, because I wanted to make sure that we captured exactly what we needed to get the right tones. Exactly. You know, a lot of playing with the right microphones and, you know, the right position. So sometimes we recorded, like our percussion session. I think we recorded that session with 7 microphones and did 3 passes.
Serious? Wow.
Because I didn't want to miss anything.
Yes.
Because I knew the caliber of musicians that we had, and it gave us so much to choose from. But it was important just not to miss anything.
Well, you know, folks, we've been talking about this CD. The Color Waiting Room. We're celebrating the release of such a wonderful piece of work, and we're going to hear a couple of songs from the CD. We're going to feature Millie on Break Bread, and you're also going to play one of my favorites, which is Match Play. So those songs are going to be coming up. But in the meantime, J. Anthony Thompson, I want to thank you for taking time out to come on Jazz on My Mind and
thank you.
Convey to the audience what this particular feature meant to you, all right? And Millie, we're looking forward to hearing you in a few minutes as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Millie Gonzalez and J. Anthony Thompson on Jazz on My Mind. All right, you ready to do your thing? All right. And while the group is getting ready to do their performance, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to keep your pen. Well, grab that pen and paper that you used earlier, because right now it's time for me to give you this week's jazz events for the East Coast. And we're going to start with a spot here in Wilmington, Delaware, and it's called the Nomad Jazz Bar. They're located here in Wilmington, Delaware at 905 North Orange in Wilmington, Delaware. You can always stop by on the weekend because the Nomad has some great things happening for jazz. You can reach them by calling area code 302, and the number is 655-8800. That number again for the Nomad, area code 302-655-8800. That's the Nomad Jazz Bar. And when you go by the Nomad, please tell my good friends Linda and Dave, along with Harry Spencer, the great saxophonist, we said hello. And if you travel down a little bit to the coast, Philadelphia has a hot jazz spot, and it's called Warm Daddies. They're located at 1400 Columbus Avenue in Philadelphia. Now, you know Warm Daddies is the hottest spot for jazz in Philadelphia. For more information, you can contact Warm Daddies by calling area code 215 and the number 462-2000. That's Warm Daddies in Philadelphia. And in New York, if you're looking for a great spot for some fantastic jazz, you got to check out the world-famous Blue Note Club. They're located at 131 West 3rd in New York. You can check them out on the website BlueNoteJazz.com. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we got some more jazz happening tonight. Right after the broadcast, we're going to have a jazz jam session, and it's going to be broadcasted right here on the internet. So make sure you stay by your computer, because we've got a lot of stuff, great stuff happening right after the show. So make sure you stick around. All right. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to get ready because we've been talking about this outstanding CD, and right now you're about to hear an outstanding performance. We're going to feature on this our house band, the one and only G2, which consists of Mr. Lamar Nixon on bass. Let's give Lamar a big round of a hand, bro. Give him a big hand. Also, my man Frank on drums, and our very own Brian Parr on guitar. And sitting behind the keyboard, the producer, the composer, and arranger for the Colored Waiting Room, Dr. Guy, Mr. Guthrie Ramsey. And put your hands together for our outstanding vocalist tonight, Miss Millie Gonzalez. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen, performing Break Bread Together on Jazz on My Mind.
Hola. 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 It's a pleasure to be here tonight as we do an unplugged version of Break Bread. A privilege and an honor to be part of such an amazing work of art, the Colored Waiting Room. Together on our knees, let us pray together on our knees. When I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun. Oh Lord, have mercy on me. Let us drink wine together on our knees. Let us drink wine together on our knees.
second. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause to our house band on Jazz on My Mind. Look, the one and only Brian Parr on guitar, Frank on drums, and Lamar Nixon on bass. I tell you, and great songs called Match Play. Match Play. Unplugged. And that's one of the other big hits on the Color Waiting Room, which you can pick this CD up. It's available now. Is that correct?
It's available on Amazon.com, iTunes, CDBaby.com, and in Philadelphia at Sounds of Market.
And can I show it? I want to show the CD cover itself so you know what you're looking for. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the latest works from Dr. Guy, Mr. Ramsey Guthrie, The Colored Waiting Room. Extraordinary piece of work. Right now, can we get the other individuals on the show who helped you with that? Mr. Jay Thompson, come on in, Jay. And also Millie Gonzalez, great performance. You guys are outstanding. I wish you guys the best in your future works. You guys going to be working on anything else in the future?
I think we're supposed to be working on my project next.
Make time for Jay, right? And Millie, we know what you're going to be doing. You're on Facebook. We can get you by. And what is your Facebook address again?
Millie Gonzalez on Facebook.
With a Z, not an S. All right, ladies and gentlemen, can I get my main man, Delbert Boyer, from the group Anaya? Don't forget, they're going to be performing here at the World Cafe Live this coming Saturday, April 28th, along with special guest Sweet Franchon, spoken word artist. Is going to be a fantastic show. There are a few tickets left, only a few, so we suggest that you call the World Cafe box office or call the Blackwell Solution at area code 302-428-1964. Well, I want to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, on the show next week, we're going to have another great live performance from the one and only Nathan Jacobs and the Musaholics. And from the Third Sunday Jazz is going to be Brenda Smith. She's going to be talking about what goes on in Wilmington the third Sunday of every month. And my special co-host next week will be motivational speaker Katrina Banks. So be sure to join us next week. Also, ladies and gentlemen, for more jazz entertainment, log on to our jazz site, which is jazzonmymind.com. You can also like us on Facebook. And don't forget to check out our music station, which is WJOMM.com. I'd like to thank our director tonight, my better half, Shar. Also on camera, our daughter, Alicia, and my floor manager, the one and only Chris Murray, and our sound engineer, Mr. Andy Benham. I'm Richard Blackwell on behalf of Dr. Guy, also Jay Thompson and Millie, and also my man, Delbert Boyer. We want to thank everybody for watching Jazz on My Mind.